Hello, and welcome to What Would Larry Do? I am Dr. Ann, and I am here with Larry Hellwig this morning, who's trying to check his cell phone at the last minute, right before we start.
I'm guilty as charged.
Definitely attached to that thing.
Yeah. I'm psyched. It's weekend. This is
Oh,
Friday, and I don't have to work.
rub it in, rub it in. I do have to work this weekend. He's just trying to torture me.
Yeah, we went through 2 weeks of busy, like crazy, busy. And so the weekend is, I'm very excited.
I know, I am too. But before we start our weekend, we have some fun topics for you guys today. This one actually the idea came to me out of one of the trainings that we did this week because we focused a lot on lifting eyebrows. So we're going to talk about the importance of eyebrows today and also about how sometimes brows go wild and you never know what's going to happen with them.
Out of control. Yeah, you can see brows of every kind, and it's like, what's in, what's not in, how it changes. But
So
yeah.
the first thing I want to start out with as one of our photos is we have this photo of all these different celebrities where their eyebrows have been photoshopped off. And it's just to show you how strange people look without eyebrows. Like it makes such a huge difference on your face where you don't always think about it as this little strip of hair. But if you take a look at these 9 different people, these are all photos where it's just been photoshopped off. And some of them at first, you can't even tell who they are. So eyebrows are important, Larry.
Maybe, though, it could be like a new thing, things change and get rid of the eyebrow and, people get used to it.
Well, we have a picture of you without eyebrows.
Yeah, I can't wait.
We can show that one too. We photoshopped off Larry's eyebrows so he could be one of those people up there. Just to kind of give you an idea that once
No
you take
eyebrows?
those eyebrows off, it changes everything. So
I'm losing my eyebrows a little bit. I got to do something. I got to get serious about it. But yeah, that's not my look.
no, and we'll talk about what we can do when people lose their eyebrows. But
Okay.
it's funny, when this idea came to me, we were doing a ton of eyebrow lifting, and I told my husband I was going to tell his story. So it was about 6 months ago. I'm getting ready to go to a users meeting conference in California, and he's going to come with me. And, he's like doing stuff to his face, his hair, whatever. As all guys know, you have clippers, and there's different guards or whatever that go on it. I don't know. I don't have clippers.
Yeah,
I'm
settings. You got all these different settings.
So I'm sitting in the kitchen working on my computer, and he comes running out of the bathroom, and he's like, I shaved my eyebrows off by accident. What do I do?
Grow them back real quick.
Well, at first I couldn't stop laughing because, literally they were gone. I guess he had the really short guard on or whatever it is, and he thought he had a longer one and that he was just trimming them. So I'm like, well, first off, don't do anything else. Do not touch them. Leave them alone. Like if we try to do anything. And then I was laughing because I was like, well, I'll just have Tave draw them in for you while we're at the conference.
Yeah.
He's like, don't put makeup on my face. Luckily for him, he's got pretty thick eyebrows and he grows hair pretty quickly. So by the end of the week, he had a little something there. So he didn't look completely bald. But, for all those men out there that tend to use their clippers to trim their eyebrows, make sure you have the right guard on.
Be careful.
Yeah.
When guys go, I know when I go and get a haircut, they always trim them for me and kind of, shape it a little bit. And so that helps. But when you're doing it yourself, you got this buzz cut thing going and they're all chopped off. I've done that and got a little flack for that. It's like, okay, here it is. It's like, what the hell is that?
I'm pretty sure you've done the buzz cut with your eyebrows as well.
Yeah, done it.
Well, the other thing that's important to think about with eyebrows, and we did, I think it was when we did our Easy Gel podcast with Dr. Rajani, we were talking briefly about how eyebrow shape and style has changed over the years, where back in the day, people were paying him to do laser hair removal to thin their eyebrows and shape it out. And nowadays, people are paying for different things to get them put back in. And so we found this picture on the internet that shows different eyebrows throughout different decades and what were some of the trends that were going on from the 1960s and 70s and 80s. And it's kind of fun to see the different shapes and styles from the people who were famous at the time that people were trying to mimic whatever their eyebrow is. So I like being able to see how it's changed, but also it's a good idea to keep in mind that if you're doing something that's going to be permanent to the eyebrow, styles may change.
That's right. Shown by every decade. So
Yeah. And the other photo I want to show really quick is the one that we have of Bella Hadid with her eyebrow. This is in the last couple years, that flared eyebrow. I get a lot of requests to get an eyebrow like that, and we'll talk about the different ways to do it. She's beautiful. It looks great on her, but it's one of those things, if you do a permanent fixture of that, where's your eyebrow going to be in 10 to 15 years? Is that something that you permanently want to keep? So...
Doesn't Nicole Kidman have the elevated lateral brow?
Yeah, just like the Bella Hadid.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's one of the ones who has them too.
So on some people, it just looks, drama. It's awesome. It looks great. It's like, whoa, I like that.
Yeah.
But it's probably not for everyone.
Yeah.
Depending on your face.
Well, let's talk about some of the different things we can do with brows. And I wanted to start about the first thing that you talked about is what happens when people lose their eyebrows.
Yes. So my wife was losing her eyebrows a little bit, driving her crazy. And so she went in and got microblading.
Yes.
Very popular nowadays. So that's one thing you can do to make a difference. And I think, you got to look at your whole face. Look at what you want. And, if you're accustomed to having really solid eyebrows and all of a sudden you don't, it's probably going to drive you crazy. So you look into different methods of doing it, but microblading is what she chose to do, and big difference.
Yeah.
She's happy.
And microblading, for those of you who don't know, when you go in and you see an artist who does it, they're going to make little slices in the skin that almost look like little hair wisps, and they put pigment into those eyebrows, or those little wisps. So it's like it's creating more like little strands of hair versus a solid block. So we have a before and after photo of what microbladed eyebrows look like. So you can see at the top where her eyebrow started out thinner, she had the thicker hair medially and was losing it laterally, which is what tends to happen. And then there's the different migration of it down, where usually they'll do one treatment and then they have you come in for a touch-up. But because they're doing it more as like wisps of hair, it tends to look more like a natural eyebrow versus a solid block. The original eyebrow replacement was eyebrow tattoos, where they would tattoo literally a solid block of pigment. They would try to match it to your hair color. But a lot of things go wrong with that. So one thing I want to bring up really quick about microblading is that it does tend to fade. So it's not a permanent procedure. The benefit of that is, though, if things don't quite turn out right, if styles change, if this and that, if it fades, then at least you can redo it. So sometimes people are complaining like, well, it's not going to last forever. I'm going to pay all this money. And I'm thinking, sometimes with eyebrows, maybe it's a good thing that it doesn't last forever.
Yeah, you've got to understand we're changing every decade. You've already seen changes that way. You saw that. And your style will change. You will change. Your face changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, be careful with anything too permanent. People will have put in permanent filler. The rest of the face changes and that area doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So not good, not a good look. So be careful with all of that. I think the idea is, okay, if I do this, then I don't have to keep coming back and doing it. And, I get it. But just understand that everything changes. So, right now, you go back a few years, quite a few years now, there were no nose rings, or there were no, all the little attachments that we see today all over the body.
Attachments. I like that word choice.
I wasn't quite sure where to go with that. But, it's changed, and, once upon a time, never. And then just think about how big tattoo has become over the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
It started out as, people in the military had tattoos.
Sailors
always had tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And then where did it go from there? And now, it's just very, very common. However, I don't have one.
Oh, you don't.
No, haven't.
I'm not gonna lie. That's a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, I haven't gone there. And I know when guys were getting, earrings, one side, I didn't do that either. But I did think about it. So maybe I should have one.
I don't know about that. We
Yeah.
might have to talk you into a tattoo, though.
A tattoo.
Yep. We could get a tattoo of your bobblehead on you.
I should have brought my bobblehead in. That is so
you need
cool.
to.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay, back to the eyebrows, though. Back to the eyebrows. Speaking of permanent, we have a picture of a permanent tattooed eyebrow gone wrong. So for those of you who don't know,
Whoa.
that if you get
Scary.
permanent eyebrow tattoos, not the microblading, the ones that don't go away, you can't remove them with tattoo removal. You are stuck. And first off, they're completely uneven. Second off, they gave this poor lady a unibrow because brows are not supposed to connect in the center. They're supposed to end over the edge of the eye. So, definitely, whether it's microblading, tattooing, do your research on your artist. Just like you would for a body tattoo, you're going to look at their before and afters. You're going to ask them questions. To be honest, when I started in the industry 15 years ago at the first office I was at, the lady who was the consultant at my office was an amazing tattoo artist. So she used to do, meaning permanent makeup tattoos, but she used to do the permanent makeup tattoos so well that she would get cases sent to her like that to try to fix them. And she was, I'm not going to lie, she was kind of a miracle worker sometimes because she would get eyebrows that came in just like that, like uneven. And she would have to tattoo different pigments to try to camouflage and match and fix their eyebrows. And she was really good at it. So, I mean, there are good people out there. So even though I show you a bad picture, it's kind of like anything else. I'm not trying to scare you away from doing it. There's excellent microblading artists out there. Just always do your research and really think about it, that maybe sometimes if microblading isn't permanent, that might be a good thing because then things can be corrected a little bit more easily.
Right. Again, just like we said, be careful. Start conservative, get your look, but do it a little bit over time. And that way you don't make any mistakes. You don't have any regrets. It's not like, oh, God, what did I do?
Yeah.
You won't have the Willie effect.
Oh, God.
Shave the brow off.
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to lie. I felt bad because I couldn't stop laughing because it was so funny. But at the same time, I'm like, we have to go in front of all my colleagues in like a week. We got to do something about those eyebrows.
Yep. And what happens, that'll happen to you, if you get too carried away with it. So the whole idea is, what can we do to improve our appearance? How do we get our look? And you're going to have options.
Yep.
And so you need to investigate, do your due diligence on the various options. And then when you pick the option that you want, then investigate who's best at it.
Yes.
So take your time with it. Don't mess it up. I mean, in one respect, we're only talking about the brows.
Yeah.
But in another respect, it's huge. So it's every single thing matters. And so the better you can do and better you can have each thing, come together for you, your overall look is dramatically enhanced. So step by step.
Well, and if eyebrow hair loss is a problem and you're not comfortable getting it tattooed, what is another option?
Well, we do a lot with the scalp. We do hair grafting and hair transplant, and that's an option. You can actually have your hair transplanted for your eyebrows, and it's very common.
Yes. We have a before and after picture that they can put up for that as well, that people can do hair grafting to bring their eyebrows back. So you can see, same thing, this person was really losing it on the lateral edges, plus it had thinned medial. And so they did hair grafting to replace the eyebrows. So now these are actual hairs that are growing where the eyebrows used to grow.
And so now the big change.
Yes.
And it works. There are other ways. That's one, and it's pretty guaranteed. We're doing a lot now with product we haven't always used. I mean, PRP has been around for a long time. That's a nice option.
Yep.
PRP or PRF, and, you do little injections of that into the tissue, and it seems to help stimulate growth of hair.
Yes.
And whether you're doing it on the scalp or the eyebrows, I think you can get a nice benefit, and it's very natural because it's yours.
Yeah.
So, consider that.
Yep.
And right now we're involved this whole exosome thing, and we've had some conversations in the past about exosomes. It's like crazy. It's just blowing up. Everybody wants to know about exosomes, how you can use it, what all you can do. And one of the companies we work with they're literally making a exosome product specifically for hair.
Yep.
And so it directs at that. And it's very possible they're going to have it for skin problems and different disease states and things like that. So exosomes, there's a lot of people talking about it and doing it, and we will very soon be involved in a study where it is applied. A type of exosome is applied to the scalp in a manner that has absolutely no pain. So I don't know that I can get into the details of it, but it, easy, and so everybody knows that, and I know I'm talking about the scalp right now, but the pandemic has caused people to lose hair.
Yeah.
A lot of people. And so there's a huge market for this. There's a lot of interest in it. And so all these companies are looking for what's the answer? What can we do that's going to make the biggest difference for all these people? And recognizing, of course, that whoever finds that, magic, it's going to make a lot of money because everybody's going to be on board. Everybody's going to want to do it. Well, what if we can apply that kind of technology to the eyebrows? If you can apply it to the scalp, and we are now doing that, different types of procedures on the scalp, and it seems like they all benefit, which is the best, And I think so many companies are coming out with so much, and do you need this many, do you need this many billion or this many billion, and what, how many growth factors and all that. So it's all being worked on. And, we are using a couple different kinds on the scalp right now, and they both seem to work. And now it's just what method do you use to apply it?
To deliver it.
That's right. So if your delivery system can be painless, person just sitting there and this whole thing takes about 5 minutes, you're in, they apply it, no pain, and you're out. That you can't get much easier. And so then can you apply that to eyebrows? If you can apply it to the scalp, you can, in all likelihood, apply it to the brows.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm excited about it. It's like there's so much talk about it, and we get calls from companies frequently now, and everybody's asking that. And when we're doing our training classes, of course, that comes up all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And we do it with microneedling RF, right?
Yep.
That's become very popular. And I think we're going to see over the next 12 to 24 months huge growth in this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start working on my eyebrows, so I don't have to have tattoos.
I was just going to say, I kind of vote for the microblading on you.
Yeah.
I think we're going to take an office staff vote and see if we go, which route we're going to go.
I talked to everybody about this once before, and everybody said, don't go there. Don't do that. And, I need to fill it in. It's getting a little thin in places, driving me out of my mind a little bit. And before I go crazy, I need to find an answer. But I think I'll just go with some microneedling and some exosomes for now. I feel a little safer that way.
Right.
So, but again, I think it's going to affect men and women.
Oh, yeah.
So, the market is very large for this. If you're losing hair on your head, you're probably losing, elsewhere.
And just for that reason that you said, pretty much most men do not want to have their eyebrows microbladed. But hair grafting would be an option because it would be their real eyebrow. So I agree with you. It's that way men don't have to feel like they're being left out of this and that they have to lose their eyebrows and not have an option.
Right.
So. And
we do that at our office, but I also look at what can be done that's less expensive. It's always trying to find for the patients okay, if you can equal this, maybe it takes a little bit longer, but you can equal the same result, but you can do it for half price or a third the cost. For a lot of people, that's the answer.
It's a game changer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. So again, you can change your appearance by changing your eyebrows. If you're losing them, you don't have to. You know, there's a lot of options out there. There are a lot of people doing treatments out there. So, you know, it can be investigated and looked into, but do be careful.
Yeah.
Do your homework.
Well, and for those who have eyebrows, but maybe want to change the shape, the style, there's a lot of different treatments that we can do. And of course, the number one complaint for people who have fine eyebrows is sagginess, right? So that the eyebrow is dropping, you know, that the upper eyelid is saggy and that they want to lift the brows. And, you know, I'm going to start from kind of the minimally invasive and move upwards. But one of the easiest things that people can start with is doing what we call a little bit of brow talks. So lift in that outer edge where when you saw some of those people, not saying that they do it, but if you're looking to achieve a result like the Nicole Kidman or the Bella Hadid, you can actually use one of the neuromodulators or neurotoxins. So the Botox, the Jeuveau, the Xeomin, the Dysport, any one of those four can be used to actually raise that outer edge.
Let's stay with women for this. I think if, you know, you take mine and bring it up here, it's going to be a little crazy.
Yes.
We won't go there.
Well, and you're right, though. Aesthetically looking at men and women, I always use Hollywood as an example. The women, typically we have arched brows or flared brows. Men tend to have flatter brows. So if you look at people in Hollywood like Brad Pitt or George Clooney, they don't have big arched brows. They have the standard brow like Larry's, where the men tend to be straight across versus women have arched and flared. So I agree. This tends to be more of my female patients coming in asking for it, but men sometimes need brows lifted too, which you can still do it and keep their same shape. But using the brow talks is one of the ways to do it, where it's very inexpensive. It's very easy for patients to do because all you do is isolate the muscle that pulls the brow down, put a little bit of that neuromodulator in there, and it allows the brow to lift. However, the downside being it only lasts 3 to 4 months, meaning it is extremely temporary, and there's only so much lift you're going to get out of it. So it's you know, definitely for the minor brow that needs to be lifted, but it's very safe, it's very easy, and most importantly, no long-term side effects.
And if you've never done anything, this is the way to start.
Yes.
It's not
absolutely.
It's not even close to permanent, so you can give it a shot and see if you like the look.
Yeah.
You know, and if you like the look, you know, we can think about other ways and other things you can do. So what else can we do to lift the brow?
Thread lifts.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So again, you can, once you know the look that you want, and you know, the structure of every face is different, but you go, oh yeah, I would love to have a little more arch. I'd love to have a little more of this or that.
Or I truly want to anchor up that Bella Hadid or Nicole Kidman brow, flare out that lateral edge for me.
You can.
Yep.
See, so you can have that. Experiment a little bit first with something not so permanent, and then you find it. And now, the advantage with thread is it is not permanent either. You know, so even if you find that over time you don't like the look, it is going to go away.
Yeah.
You've got quite a bit of time. What about 9 to 15, 18 months?
Yeah, 9 to 18 months, depending on the type of the thread, the person, their metabolism. So it falls into that filler category where it may wear off at a year, it may last longer. So yeah, it's still a temporary procedure. However, before you get something surgical done, it gives you a chance to feel it out for a little while and decide, do I like this?
Yeah. So start off with a neurotoxin if you don't know. Do I like that look? Yes, I do. All right. Next step, maybe threads, you know. The other thing you can do along the way is like microneedling RF or some device that will help to lift.
Yes.
Now, if you're trying to lift this, you need to anchor it to this. So how is this? I mean, is it loose? Or you have a lot of laxity? So, you know, I think knowing how to do that is critical.
Which, for those of you who were not watching, he was talking about if you're trying to lift the lower forehead, you have to anchor it back to the scalp.
Yep.
Because, right, it doesn't just start right above the eyebrow. It's all the way back to the scalp in the center part of the forehead. So when we're teaching eyebrow lifting or forehead lifting with RF microneedling, we will do the forehead, but we're also going to anchor the scalp all the way back to midline on the top of the head.
And if they're losing a little hair, all right, go ahead, anchor it back. Add some exosomes or something to it. I mean, it's like a two for one. You know, I'm getting a little lift. It's definitely Friday.
It is. And we're tired. We've had a couple of really long weeks.
So
I was wondering how goofy and off we were going to be this morning. I was like, this might not be a good idea, but at the same time, it might be really funny.
Twofer. So go for the twofer. And, you know, get that benefit. But again, it's nice. You can use technology now. I mean, we teach this every month. I mean, we have big classes in it of how to elevate the entire forehead.
Yep.
If you elevate the forehead, what happens? The brows come up, but you open up the eyes. You know, so it's a win-win. You know, it's all these things. One thing affects the next thing, affects the next thing. And so if you have some laxity around the eyes and you elevate, you're opening the eye. Mm-hmm. So even though you're working on the forehead, the eye looks better.
Yes.
So, you know, anytime you can get more that's a twofer, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So if you go up here, it's a threefer. Now we get a little more hair, we get a lift, we get eyes open. So I think the thing is you can get quite a bit out of these treatments, and people are loving those kind of results. So that's nice. And when you use a mechanical device like microneedling RF to do that kind of a treatment, I think you get quite a bit of longevity with it. And especially if you do a few treatments along the way. Yeah. Don't just do a little correction and then say, okay, I'm done. But the other thing is you can combine these therapies. Mm-hmm. Huge, you know. You can do some threads with it. You can always do your neurotoxin. You're coming in and you're working on your Levens or something. You can pop a little neurotoxin in there. Everything helps so that you get more lift. You get rid of lines at the same time. You open up the eye a little bit. Maybe you grow a little more hair on the front. You know, it's just a win-win all the way around.
Well, and what about the AGNES device for the eyebrow lifting? I know you kind of talked about RF microneedling, but AGNES is a focused RF, and I'm just going to throw out there that what we're talking about is off-label, so we teach it. It's not something that the company will tell you about, but this is something that I've been doing probably over the last, year and a half?
Quite a while.
You want to say?
Yeah.
So the one thing I'd say with that is I don't have anything other than about a year and a half to say. I'm not sure how long it'll last because we're only about a year and a half out that we've been doing it. But using the AGNES is a little bit more intense than doing the Scarlet or the Silpher-Mex or any of the other RF microneedling devices out there. AGNES is a focused RF needle. So it's a much smaller needle, but it's longer. And it goes in and you know, it creates collagen contraction, but when we're doing the forehead, I'm actually going pretty deep and it's kind of fusing all that tissue together up there. So you can almost see an immediate lift. So I do it in two different ways. There's a lot of people that come in that we haven't really talked about yet that have uneven eyebrows. So in our last couple of classes that we have done some of these brow lifts, one of the ones that we did, one lady's eyebrow was so uneven that we started with her low brow and got it to where it was almost completely even with the other one. I didn't even go to touch the other brow because at that point I could only get it up so high, and now they're at the point they're even. I don't want to elevate the other one and make it uneven.
It's called the dreaded uneven brow.
Oh my gosh.
And you got to do something, you know.
Everybody has a slightly off brow. If you haven't, learned our analogy of the side of your faces, our sisters, not twins. Here it is today. Mm-hmm. So everybody's brows are slightly different. Mine are slightly different. I'm sure Larry's are slightly different. But some people, it's much more dramatic. And in one of the patients that we had, hers was significantly more dramatic. Now, the second patient that we did the brow lift in this training was a male. And his was also uneven, but not to the same point. So same thing. We started with the lower brow and actually got it up higher than the other one. And then we brought that one up to match it. where I can literally pull on the tissue and I call it tacking, basically tack it in there. And when we're done, it's like you can see exactly where it's lifted. And because you don't have to just create an arch or a flare, you're just lifting the whole tissue. It can be done for both men and women because it's not like you're going to give them a phony shaped brow. You're lifting the entire general area.
It is really a nice look. Looks very natural,
Yeah.
and relatively easy to do.
Yep.
And again,
Minimal downtime.
Yeah, minimal downtime. You can do, more than one if you need to.
Yep.
So
the only thing we don't have the true answer for is longevity,
Yeah.
But at the moment, they seem to really be holding up. So it's the same thing. Before patients go do something that's extremely permanent,
Yeah.
it's not very expensive to do. So this can be a great option with minimal risk, minimal downtime, and give you a feel of what it's going to be like to have the brows lifted in that zone.
Right. One of the girls in the class, I offered to use a weed whacker just to take them down a little bit. These were, serious brows,
But that's right now.
It's in. Just shaping, I remember somebody shaped my brows when I was down in Tucson once, and that was her thing. She was quite a specialist at it, and it was like, wow, I have really good-looking brows. It was like, I'd never seen that. I just always kind of just chop them off, trim them a little bit.
Pull a willy and shave it off.
Yeah, it was like a willy thing, God, she made it look, good. So
I might have to drive down to Tucson and find her.
Yeah,
I could use a little brow help.
It was like so amazing. That was her thing, So, people get a reputation for something, find that person that can really make a big difference, and then decide, okay, how do we want more? How do we get a bigger lift? How do we take it all up a notch? Again, without doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
So that's.
But the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is the surgical brow lift. So let's at least talk about that, because that is kind of like the final step in somebody having a brow that's really low. It's part of a facelift. So tell us a little bit about what a surgical brow lift entails.
No clue. Normally what you're doing is you're taking, and we had one, so we're going to talk about the good and maybe the bad and ugly with it. And because this is your more extreme.
Yeah.
Right? So we know you can do blephs for the eyelid, but you can also take the whole brow up, and where you're going to remove a little bit of tissue.
Yeah.
They're going to suture it up.
We do have a before and after of a brow lift that they're going to pop up that's a surgical brow lift. So this is her before and after, where you could see hers are down really low. And then this is her after, where they're raised.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, she looks nice. She looks very nice, very natural, but it totally changes how her eyes look. Obviously, she had other work done with it, but this is a brow lift where you can actually elevate that brow up. Where her brows had almost fallen below her orbital rim, and now they're back up on the orbital rim where they should be, which is that bony structure above your eye. So they can be done really nicely.
You need to, again, research, do your due diligence, talk to some people, because I think most plastics do a beautiful job with this.
But there is a scar that they have to hide.
Yeah, there is a little scar.
Yep.
And we had a lady come in who wanted us to fix her brow lift. Seriously, deer in headlights. She was like this.
I call it the Nancy Pelosi look. Yeah. If you want to see a brow lift of deer in headlights, just go ahead and Google that picture.
Yeah.
They're like almost to her hairline.
And it's like, what are we going to do? How do we help that? So it's like you'd almost have to put threads in and pull the other way. It's like tug of war. Just a challenge. That. So just be careful. Everything we've been talking about up to surgery gives you an opportunity to kind of play with it and see how you like it, knowing at some point you'll have to do it again. But these are not, extremely costly procedures,
Yes.
and it's not, minimal for downtime and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so just, weigh your options. If you find, okay, I really like this look, take photos of you, and if you want surgery, then this is what I
Yeah.
want. This is the look that I want. I don't want it more, and they can measure it. And they
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
and they
Oh,
can be
yeah.
very exact and very precise with it. And so I would say then, why not? But if you come out with the Pelosi look, you just have to know there's not a lot that can be done.
Yeah. Those eyebrows are stuck up there
Yeah.
at that point.
Maybe in 20 years or 30 years they'll kind of start softening a bit, but it's going to be a while.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And two, you want somebody who's going to hide the scar good because it's
Yeah.
in your hairline.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose your hairline,
Yeah.
back in there. Sometimes they can hide it way back further in here so that you don't actually have to see the scar, or that it doesn't actually affect where your hairline is against your forehead. So you want to ask all those questions, right? Is my scar going to be up here at my hairline? Is it going to be buried back in my hairline? Where exactly is it going to be? Those are questions to ask when you're considering a true surgical brow lift.
And if it is a little noticeable, there's ways to fix a scar. So you can really soften that scar. You can do all kinds of stuff. If you need a little more hair up front, a lot of times there are ways to get you a little more hair up front to cover anything like that.
Yep.
So it's not the end of the world with any of it. It's just, being aware that things can happen. And but I'd say the majority of time things come out beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that.
People are very happy.
Yeah.
And it's just that every once in a while you get that look and it's like, I don't know. What are we going to do here?
You're just going to be surprised for
Yeah.
the rest of your life.
You're going to have that surprise thing going 24/7. So, yeah. So that's that. We don't like to see that. And but again, start slow.
Yeah.
Get the look that you want
Yep.
using methods, because you may really want it and you think you really want it and find, okay, I thought I wanted it to be here. I don't.
Yes.
Give it some time,
Yes.
and I really, that's too extreme for my face or my look, what I want. But that way you're okay. It's not going to last.
Yep.
So I think those are the things to keep in mind. And threads, I think, are underrated by a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that whole thing, and I know we've talked about them, I believe, before, and we'll probably talk about them again in the future, but people that are really good with threads, it's like magic.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're doing the neck or you're doing a thigh or you're doing all of this stuff. And we've got a number of podcasts coming up. We're going to talk about combining filler and threads and tightening procedures for the butt, for the thighs, for arms. There's going to be a lot of content coming your way on some of the changes, and we'll have some before and afters that you're not going to believe. But it's very exciting. But, exploring other opportunities and things that are going on. But threads are amazing. And in fact, that's what you're teaching tomorrow.
It is. Yep.
So
That's what I'm doing tomorrow.
those
While Larry's lounging at home, I'm going to be slaving away in the office all day.
See the smile? Yay. No, I'm going to come in. I'm going to have some fun, with the class, loosen it up a little bit, make it lively.
I'll probably need some of that.
Yeah.
But either way, back to the brows, you have lots of different options. And most importantly, brows are obviously a very important part of the face, right? Without your eyebrows, you look weird. We saw those pictures. We got to see Larry without eyebrows.
Yeah.
Just knowing that
Scary.
they're there, they're important. There's different ways you can have them. Different shapes and styles come and go. Different heights come and go. So it's kind of figuring out what's going to work best for you. And maybe sometimes permanent is not the best. Maybe sometimes it is. Because when people are older and their brow is really sagging, before you get an eyelid lift, sometimes you need, or a blepharoplasty, sometimes you actually need a brow lift. Because then if you do the bleph, you may not be able to go back and do the brow lift later on. So there's lots of different questions out there. But like Larry said, try some things. Figure out the style, the look that you're going for before you choose something that's more permanent. And then once you've experimented and you say, yes, this is what I really want, you can then sometimes go for a more permanent route.
There are things that are very aggressive. I think a tummy tuck. You know, you do abdominoplasty, pretty aggressive. Does it work? Yes.
Absolutely.
Big time. Okay. You know, but there are other things that you might do as opposed to a tummy tuck that will get you halfway there, 2/3 the way, maybe even very close to the same spot. So the same thing up here, you know, in the center of your face, you know, when people are looking at you, this is what they're seeing. So, you know, pay attention to it. Make it look as nice as you can. But I think eyelids are another part. You know, you can talk about eyelids all day.
Yeah.
But when you're bringing this up, you're opening the eye. You're actually opening that eyelid a little bit. Big help. Then you can go and say, okay, maybe the next step is, can we do a little more on the eyelid? What can we do there? And there's all kinds of wonderful things. So,
Yeah.
you know, that whole thing.
Yep.
But we're not putting threads in eyelids.
Nope, we're not. But either way, brows are important. They frame your face. You definitely want to do something with them.
Yep.
I think that pretty much wraps up our brow discussion, unless
think
you
we're
have
good.
any last words of advice. I think that's good for this Friday. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.